We've all looked at a cute baby animal and thought, you are so adorable, I could just eat you up. Except in the wild, parents take that sentence literally. From hamsters and pigs to fish, snakes, and birds, parents across the animal kingdom sometimes turn their own babies into a snack. To humans, this sounds horrifying, and biologically, it seems like a complete disaster. Isn't the whole point of having offspring to make sure they survive? Why would a parent eat its own genetic legacy? The answer comes down to a brutal reality of life in the wild. Sometimes, keeping every baby alive isn't the best way to keep the family line alive. When resources are limited, parents have to deal with impossible trade-offs. And sometimes, one of those trade-offs involves eating their own offspring. Consider a hamster mother. She gives birth to a large litter, and suddenly she's responsible for feeding and protecting far more babies than her body can easily support. Scientists found something strange when they studied this. Mothers with larger litters were more likely to eat some of their newborn pups. And when researchers added extra pups to the nest, the mothers ate even more. But when some pups were removed, the cannibalism could stop. The mother wasn't simply eating babies at random. She was responding to the cost of keeping the entire litter alive. Every pup needs milk. Every pup requires energy. And if there are too many mouths competing for limited resources, the entire litter can suffer. So sometimes, sacrificing a few means the remaining babies have a better chance of growing strong enough to survive. But here's where it gets even stranger, because a parent doesn't always eat its offspring because there are too many of them. Sometimes, the parent eats them because they're about to become someone else's food. Take the long-tailed skink. When predators repeatedly threaten a skink mother's nest, she faces a terrible choice. She can keep defending eggs that may never survive, or she can consume them herself. If the eggs are likely to be lost anyway, eating them allows the mother to recover some of the energy she already invested in producing them. It's disturbing. But from an evolutionary perspective, the situation isn't really about cruelty. It's about what can still be saved. And then there's a case that makes filial cannibalism even harder to understand, because this time, the offspring aren't necessarily sick. They aren't necessarily doomed. They're just taking too long. Male sand goby fish guard underwater nests containing eggs from multiple females. The longer they have to guard the nest, the longer they're tied to that breeding site. And some eggs develop more slowly than others. So the male sometimes eats those slower developing eggs. Think about how strange that is. He's not necessarily eating them because they're unhealthy. He's eating them because waiting for them could cost him another opportunity to reproduce. In other words, the parent is giving up some offspring now to improve its chances of reproducing again later. And suddenly, the behavior starts to make a disturbing kind of sense. Filial cannibalism isn't one simple behavior with one simple explanation. For some animals, it's about limited food and energy. For others, it's about offspring that are unlikely to survive. For others, it's about predators. And sometimes, it's about something as simple as time. The wild doesn't reward animals for protecting every single offspring at any cost. It rewards strategies that, over generations, give some offspring a better chance of surviving and reproducing. So while eating your own babies looks like the ultimate act of self-defeat, sometimes sacrificing a few offspring is exactly what allows the parent or the remaining offspring to survive. And that's the disturbing part. In nature, survival isn't always about saving everyone. Sometimes it's about deciding what can still be saved.